Hey everybody, it's Peter B, and welcome to another edition of Tobacco Card Tuesday. This was supposed to be a very special Tobacco Card Tuesday. I started planning for it 2 weeks ago. I started pulling which cards I wanted to show and start jotting down notes of what I want to talk about. And the subject is how to buy T206 cards. How can I collect them? And like I said, I had the idea 2 weeks ago. Well, lo and behold, last Sunday night on the For Collectors channel, they discussed how to collect the monster, which is a nickname of the T206 set. So, sorry guys, I'm not copying you. I already had this. Let's say I'm helping to reinforce what you said. Now, speaking of that broadcast, it was fantastic. Anyone interested in T206 or anyone interested in maybe buying a pre-war card, you have to watch it. It was totally fantastic episode. The four collector people now added a fifth collector, and that is Dan at Vintage Baseball PC. Don't be confused by that fancy name. He was the host, and he did a marvelous job, and he had three fantastic guests. Dan has a few T206 cards, so he knows what he's talking about. He had on the panel Jake from Legends Never Die. I believe Jake recently or semi-recently just got a whole set of cards, like over 100 T206 cards. So Jake's crazy and wants to go for the whole set of T206 cards, every player possible. And I wish him good luck. It is obtainable if you don't include four guys, which I'll talk about in a second. But these days, with the high prices, it's going to be very expensive. But I do wish Jake luck. He's getting to know very well about the T206 cards. Like I said, he's off to a fantastic start. And he even showed a Piedmont cigarette package that these cards came out of, like the one you're looking at right now. So, Jake, good luck, and you were good last Sunday night. The second guest on the panel was Chris at CRT Sport Cards, and he knows his stuff. He knows all about T206s. I watch his channel. I watch Jake's channel too, but I watch his channel, and he really knows his stuff. He's doing back runs, and what I mean, on the back of T206 cards, there are different cigarette brands being advertised, and the brand on the back indicated the pack of cigarette it came out of, like Piedmont cigarettes, but it came out of a pack looking like that. Well, he collected all of the polar bear backs, and you'll see a polar bear back later. And he had them all flipped over, the dark blue back, and took a picture, and it was real cool seeing them all like that. There's a lot of them, and he got every one. He's also continuing his quest. He wanted to go after, I believe, Sovereign and Cycle or Old Mill. I'm sorry, I have to go back and revisit. But he also wants to go after every player in those cigarettes. And I think he explained that by doing back run of those three sets of cigarettes, he would get 520 different players. He'd get a lot of duplicate players, but he'd get the 520. Let me explain that. There are actually 524 player images. Some players are depicted more than once. So 524 different player images in the T206 set. But four of them, they're called the Big Four, are totally outrageously expensive. One of them, everyone knows, the Honest Wagner. The next one is Doyle, that says New York National. Doyle was actually on the New York American League team. There was another Doyle, different guy, on the National League team. And when these T206 printed, very first early run, they noticed a mistake, so they corrected it to say Doyle, New York Americans. Well, a few National Leaguers got out there, and these are very expensive. I'm talking, 5-6 figure dollar expensive. All these cards are. Next one is Plank, Eddie Plank. He's a Hall of Famer. The story goes the printing press used to print him fell and broke, and so they never re-etched a new one. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. There's another theory that he was on the same sheet of players that Honest Wagner was on. And when they pulled Honest Wagner, they also pulled his sheet. And they had to, redo all the sheets. And they somehow left him off as well as Honest Wagner. He was put on in a later print run, and only a few cards got out. But the Doyle card is the Plank card is very expensive. And the last one is McGee, Sherry McGee of the Phillies. He had a name misspelled problem. Here is the corrected card. And notice it's Magee. The first print run, a couple of sheets got loose that said Magie. They corrected it and then finished all the print runs with this. This is a common card. If you have an IE, it's a very expensive card. So those are considered the big four. So to collect the set, you really only need to collect 520 of the 524. Some of these cards, there's only like 5 known examples. So they moved it down to 520. And this next person totally blew me away. Max from Maxa Jackson. He has the 520 cards. He has a photo that he showed. He laid them out on this huge table. And he's standing in the rear of the table, furthest away from the camera, with his arms stretched out. And it was amazing to see the volume of cards laying on that table. Max knows his stuff. I watch all these guys' channels. I knew Max was very literate in T206s. Some reason I didn't know he had the whole set, and it totally blew me away seeing it. So good luck, Jake, if you can get up to that same level of T206. And good luck, Chris, of doing those 3 advertising back print runs. So, how do I collect a T206 card? Well, first of all, I recommend that you do. Even if you're thinking about maybe someday of getting into pre-war. There are 3 big sets from the pre-war era. First is the 33 Gaudy, very popular set and a lot of cards. You can pick up commons, relatively inexpensive, and you get some Hall of Famers, not too bad. Good set if you want an example of a pre-war card. Just buy one guy. The second one is the 1914-15 Cracker Jacks, and I recommend staying away from them. Their prices have gone outrageously high. Even the commons are between $200 and $300, and with better conditions, they can go up to $400, $500 just for a common. So what I actually recommend is the T206. Common players, raw, you can probably get for $20, $30. And I do recommend you, if you want to just buy one T206 card, just so you can say you own one, buy a common player and get it raw. That way you can experience the feel of it, hold it in your hand, know what the real T206 experience is. Just buy one guy. Now, these guys also have great stories. When I was collecting them, I didn't have the internet, so I had to look up in books their story. It is so easy for you guys. Just go to the internet and look up these guys' stories, and some of them have very cool stories. So go ahead and do that. Just buy one common and buy it raw. Even if you want all your cards to be slabbed, buy one raw, just so you can experience, have that other sensation of picking it up and feeling what it feels like. And it's only a common. Just put it in a, top loader and you'll be fine. If you want to collect a Hall of Famer, if you want to just, say that you own a T206 and it's a Hall of Famer. Well, there are different levels of Hall of Famers. Go for the lower tier type player. And I'll show you what I mean. Obviously they're still great players or manager, and they're in the Hall of Fame, so they're good players. Like Miller Huggins, before he was a manager for the Yankees, he was a player for Cincinnati. Kelly, he played in the old days, the turn of the century, with the Baltimore Orioles, John McGraw's teammate. He later became a manager. Here he is in the minor league, I think as a manager in Toronto. Oh, yeah, by the way, there are all the American League players and National League players, and there's also a lot of minor league players. And here's Kelly. You can pick up, I don't know if he's on a Mayo. I don't think he's on an Old Judge, but you can get an old and play, pay $900 for one of those. Or you can get this for probably, depending on the condition, $60. You probably do want to pick up Hall of Famers graded. Beckley. He was player manager in the minor leagues at the time these cards came out. Clark Griffin. Still a player before he became a manager and owner. Wee Willie Keller. Like I said, you can go out and buy a 19th century card and pay outrageous numbers, or get the T206. Yes, it's going to be expensive, but not super duper expensive. Jimmy Collins, third baseman from the turn of the century, later turned manager. Vic Willis, a fantastic pitcher. So these guys would be less expensive Hall of Famers, but you can say, I have a Hall of Fame card from 1909 to 1911, and you get a copy of a T206 card. You go a little higher up the ladder, like Johnny Evers, Frank Chance, Rube Marquardt. Now, another thing about T206s, the players come in either portraits, which many collectors prefer, or they come in action poses. There's another Rube Marquardt just after throwing the ball. Like I said, a lot of collectors love these portrait shots. Others love the posed action shots. John McGraw. And this has an American Beauty back. That's getting up into the rare backs. And another John McGraw, same pose. That's a Tolstoy, getting up into the rarer backs. A little bit even higher up the ladder, Eddie Collins. It's a nice card. Has some dirt up there, a little bit of crinkling. Otherwise, it's a real nice card. I don't know if it's been trimmed or not. I don't care. I'm collecting the card, not the grade. And it has a rare back on it. It makes it even better. Here's a popular one. Rube Waddell. He's a character in himself. He has a fantastic story. And go even a little bit higher up the ladder. Cy Young. And Nap Lodgeway. Here is a portrait card. And there's a posed card. So you can collect Hall of Famers like that, even a little bit more expensive than the first Hall of Famer set I showed you. Or you can say, screw it, and go all the way. And other than Honest Wagner, the most expensive Hall of Famer, or besides Plank, go after this guy. He has 4 poses. There is bat on shoulder and red portrait. Red portrait is probably the most common of the 4. This has a polar bear back. This one is actually featured on many, many different backs. So he was printed many times on many backs. And he's even on the rarest of backs, which is not even included if you're a back collector. And that's the Ty Cobb back. Only this card, the Ty Cobb portrait with red background, is on a Ty Cobb cigarette back. That's the only way you can buy it. So it's really not even considered if you're collecting backs, because, I mean, you're talking $100,000. And like I said, he had 4 different poses. There's bat off shoulder. And I love the background on that. And there's portrait in green, which is the, it's not rare, but it's the less common of the 4. So you can save up your money and you can buy a Cobb. You don't have to buy all 4, just get 1. So a lot of people collect Hall of Famers, and there are affordable Hall of Famers. So why don't you go out and get one of them? Now, I mentioned backs. There are people who try to get an example of every back, and I'm one of those. You can get the easy-to-find Piedmont back and Sweet Copperelle back. Those are the most common. And it goes up to drum, or even now a color variation of, print color variation of some of the backs. Let's just stop at drum. That's the hardest back. Here are some of the backs. I'm going to show you some easy ones first. Here is a Sweet Copperelle. This was in the 3rd set. And it says 350 to 460 subjects. And the factory, that's the actual building that they were printed or distributed from, is, I can't read, 42, which is one of the rarer ones. And you can see that they striked out the original. It was actually printed with a different factory number. So they reprinted the thing and striked out that. And on the very bottom added factory number 42. You can get it 350 to 460 with the original factory, number 24. That's before they striked it out and put 42 on the bottom. And here's same exact back, but it has just the factory 42 without striking it out the other one and putting it on the bottom. So different levels of rarity in Sweet Caporal as well as Piedmont. But those are what those backs look like. Nope, there's another one, sorry. Here's a 350 subject, factory 30. And another easy back is Piedmont. This one is new baseball series, 360 to 460 subject. And that is factory 42. Here is Piedmont, same thing, 350 to 460, but that's factory 25. Here's a Piedmont, just says 350, and that's factory 25. Here's a polar bear back. Here's a Tolstoy back, one of the more rarer ones. Not super rare, but rare. And Hindu, one of the rarer ones. And Use It. This one's very, very rare. And I'm lucky that it has a Frank Chance Hall of Famer on the front of it. But I bought it because of the back, because I wanted to have an example of every back. And there's one set of minor leaguers. They were down south. And this is, what's his name? Seitz from Norfolk. I assume Norfolk, Virginia. So they're called the Southern Leaguers. They were minor league teams. And they're the only ones, many players, but they're the only ones that have the Southern Leaguer back to it. You can get these guys affordable. Once again, I bought it just because of the back. Or you can go crazy. This pile I showed you, except for the last few, all these backs. Wow, let's see who it is. Oh, look. Player with a Sweet Caporal back. The player. Sweet Caporal back. Player. Sweet Caporal back. These are all Hall of Famer Frank Baker. I do collect Baker. He's a third baseman and Hall of Famer. So you saw these backs before, but now I'm showing you my player run. And this will be similar to today's rainbows. Pink, green, orange, sparkly. So people like myself do player runs. Many people do, which is cool. I don't own a drum back. I wish I did, but they're very expensive. And I saw a Frank Baker drum on eBay recently. It could still be there. And it is so expensive. Like I said, unless I hit the lottery, I'll never have a Frank Baker drum for my Frank Baker run. So many people do player runs. I do Frank Baker. Another way to collect, there's cousins of T206s. They have the same image, but they were printed after the T206, and so they're not considered T206s, but I like them as well. I went, of course, with Frank Baker. And here's a coupon type 1. And here's a Frank Baker coupon type 3. And you can see the difference. And here's a Frank Baker. This has a red cross back. So I'm crazy enough not only to try for the Frank Baker player run, but also beyond the T206s. And once again, players were not on every back. So there are a lot of backs, a lot of hard backs that Baker is not on. Unfortunately, he is on that drum. So I will never complete the run, but I'm going to try to get as many as I can. There's still more Bakers I need, even non-T206, but T206 looking cards. You can also collect the packs. Jake has a pack. He has this pack. And you can tell whether it's legit by the tax stamp on the back. Has to look a certain way and within certain dates. So you can add these to display with your T206s. And here's what I mean. The old mill back. And oh, look what I got. A Frank Baker. So you can display these in your on the wall in a curio cabinet. He's sitting in a curio cabinet next to the pack. Not the pack this card came out of, but the pack just like what he would have came out of. On the back is an old mill. You have to believe me, I'm not going to open it up. But it is an old mill back. Old mill cigarette. I also got Sweet Caporal. That's what the cigarette box looked like. And this one still included cigarettes. So I made up this little display. It sits in my curio cabinet, which someday I hope becomes my baseball card room. I thought it was cool. This is a correct Sweet Caporal, correct factory. Does it say? Yeah, this is somewhere it'll say the factory. So it is the correct brand and factory that this card back has. I also have El Principal de Gaulle pack. And I don't know whether I showed you. I will show you pretty soon what that back looks like. And I have American Beauty. Now, these backs are cool. These packs are cool, I mean. Shows the battleship. And 10 cigarettes, American Beauty. So some people are crazy like me and go after the actual tobacco cigarette packages. I also have a Tolstoy. I have it upstairs where I have some other stuff. I forgot to pull it. But I also have the Tolstoy pack. So that's another way you can collect the monster, the T206 set. And if you're totally a lunatic about T206s and you have a favorite team, my favorite team is the minor leagues Providence Gray. I was originally from Rhode Island, and I was amazed that there was actually Providence baseball cards. So I went crazy and I got every player. There's 6, 8. You'll see in a second. I have every player from the Providence team, but I also got backs. Here's a Factory 25 Piedmont for John Anderson. He played mostly in the 19th century. He was a good player. I also got Sweet Caporal, Factory 25. I also got Sweet Caporal, Factory 30. I also got Polar Bear. I also got Sovereign. I also got El Principal de Gauls. Okay, so that's the ones that came out of the pack I just showed recently. And I got Old Mill. And I got Cycle. And I got American Beauty. Now these, if you notice, these were cut a little bit more thin, see? That American Beauty pack I showed you is a tiny bit thinner than the other packs. So if you say, oh, this has been trimmed, no, not really. They came out of the cigarette pack that way, just for American Beauties. And I got Tolstoy. So I also have a player run. Once again, John Anderson has a drum. I could have bought it 5-6 years ago for $10,000, and be lucky if I could buy it for $1,000. So I do not own that. Hunky Shaw, Piedmont, 25. Sweet Caporal, 25. Sweet Caporal, 30. Polar Bear. Sovereign. Cycle. American Beauty. Broadleaf, that's a more rarer back. Then we got Pat Moran. Piedmont, 25. Sweet Cap, 25. Sweet Cap, 30. Sovereign. American Beauty. Cycle. And I got, I think his first name, Artie Hoffman. Piedmont, 25. Sweet Caporal, 25. Sweet Caporal, 30. Polar Bear. I'm sorry, Izzy. Izzy Hoffman. Artie Hoffman is a different player. This is Izzy Hoffman. Sovereign still counts. Cycle. Old Mill. American Beauty. El Principal de Gaulle. And Tolstoy. Almost done, guys. Lavender. Piedmont, 25. Sweet Caporal, one of them. And Sweet Caporal, the other one. Polar Bear. Sovereign. El Principal de Gaulle. American Beauty. Old Mill. Tolstoy and Carolina Bright, which is rare. It's a hard one. Blackburn, the guy who invented the rub-in mud that's still used today. Piedmont, one of them. Sweet Cap, one of them. Sweet Cap, the other one. Polar Bear. Sovereign. Cycle. Old Mill. El Principal de Gaulle. American Beauty. And then Aren't in a Piedmont. One of the Sweet Caporal. The other Sweet Caporal. Sovereign. American Beauty. Cycle. Broadleaf, that's a rare one. And the last one, guys. Hope you stay in there. Piedmont. One of the Sweet Caporal factories. Other Sweet Caporal factory. Sovereign. Cycle. American Beauty. And a rare one, Broadleaf. So, I don't have them all, but I tried to collect every Providence player, which are seven players, in every back combo. I don't own a drum. I know Anderson, I've seen it, and Blackburn, I've seen it, do come in drum. These guys don't all come in the same backs. There's only a few that come in broadleaf. I am missing some of the guys that come in broadleaf. Not all of them have a polar bear. Not all of them have an American Beauty. But I have the ones that do come in all those brands. Like I said, I have no drums. I know at least two come in drum. And broadleaf, I think I'm missing two players that come in broadleaf. So if you go mental, like I did, you can collect that. So moral of the story, T206 is a cool set. They're widely out there. You can find them anywhere. And if you want to try it, get a raw common and learn about the guy. It might get you hooked. Hopefully not Jake hooked where you want to go off the whole set, but I've shown you ways to collect it. Maybe your favorite team. Like I said, Boston Red Sox was good. There is a speaker. That's expensive, but the other guys are considered commons. I actually also own the Boston National League. They were called the Doves at the time. They later took on the name Braves. I have that team set too, and there are no Hall of Famers, so that was more affordable. Collect a certain Hall of Famer, just so you say you have it. Collect a huge Hall of Famer. Going to cost you, but you can say that you have it. They're fun. They're addictive, and I'm not trying to get you addicted. I just want everyone to experience T206. So if you're thinking you want something more than the 50s vintage, which most of us on these channels collect, and they're too scared to go any pre-war, just get one. just so you can say you have one. And I'm sure if you do get one, a lot of you are going to pick up a second, and maybe a third, and maybe a fourth. They're very fun cards. They're very beautiful cards. So that's my story on the T206. And once again, if you haven't seen that 4 collectors program from last Sunday night, go watch it. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to fall in love with these pieces of cardboard. Well, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic Tobacco Card Tuesday. Goodbye.